to another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass, Chris, and Sean. What's going on, fellas?
Good, y'all. What's good?
What's good? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody out there. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Hope everybody's enjoying the holiday season. I know I sure am. Got to see Heem get a big win on Monday Night Football against the Rams to complete another not really that great of a weekend of football for us. But before we get into what happened this past week, obviously we got to get into some of the biggest news. Well, if you want to consider it big news, that's happened over the last hour or so. But Trayvon Diggs was cut from the Cowboys yesterday and has ultimately been picked up by the Green Bay Packers today. The writing's kind of been on the wall with Trayvon Diggs and what's been going on over there with the Cowboys for the past few months now. We expected that was a possibility. He could have been released back in the summer. Now that it's finally happened and he's gotten picked up, how do you guys feel? Kind of your reactions to that?
I mean, right before you got on, Shah, my one and only question is he taking over somebody's position? Like, is he coming in to start over somebody? And who you taking off? I mean, you can't. I guess the thing is you can't have too much. You can't have too much talent at a position if you want to, say he got ball skills and whatnot as far as being able to make interception, make plays on the ball. But I mean, at this juncture, it's a wait and see type of thing because you hear from his camp that he's healthy. He's been healthy this entire year. He feels like he's ready to play. But at the same juncture, the team that has been watching over you since you've been in the league is saying otherwise. They're saying no, you don't. You have not been doing what you need to do to get on the field. You've been maybe mishap on your rehab. So at this juncture, it's like, well, it's a wait and see. I mean, he has skills. Yes, we've seen that he has the ability to make plays on the ball, but we also seen throughout the year, and some of this stuff is on him. Some of it might not be on him, maybe scheme related, but we also seen plenty of times where he's gotten beat like badly this year. So I mean, it's one of those we'll see. But I guess in my opinion, I don't see who he's going to take over for. That would be my biggest question if they're going to ultimately play him into the playoffs, and that's where I'm gonna leave it at.
I mean, I'm kind of on that train. Like, I don't think you shouldn't expect too much from him. I get his history, his past, his accolades. But at this point in the season, he is joining the 7th seed team in the NFC. It's going to be tough regardless. I don't even know if he plays this week with such a short turnaround from being, cut and signed. But I don't expect too much from it. But if he can, I think it's one of those things where if you can get any contribution at that position, and they've been struggling a little bit with injuries too. I know like Evan Williams kind of, he plays a lot of the slot, but he's been dealing with injuries on and off. But, I mean, look, Trayvon Diggs he's a good player, but I think injuries have caught up to him, so I don't necessarily see this as a great thing.
I don't know if it's necessarily a great thing, but I also don't know what you guys are talking about. Like the Packers got some cornerbacks that just didn't get benched this past week. They're starters. I say it's gonna be great, but in terms of who he gonna be over, I mean, idiom.
No, man, give me a name.
Valentine. We could do Keyshawn Nixon.
He's
we could
not
do
getting over Keyshawn Nixon. Maybe
he's not
getting over Keyshawn Nixon, bro.
What are you talking about? Nixon just got benched like 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about?
So you saying a guy that came to get on the field with this sorry ass Dallas Cowboys team, he just gonna jump over the two niggas that's my thing. That's all I was saying. I'm
just saying
him to not be able to play on a team that sees him every day and saying, no, hell no, not you. And he's just gonna jump over somebody else on another team.
I'm not saying he's gonna be good. Let me make that clear. I'm not saying he's gonna be good. I'm just saying in terms of the Packers DBs, he could go over any of them if he shows any semblance of competence. But with that being said, I mean, I do think that we also see that all the time where a player sometimes we see it doesn't work out when they pick up players that get cut, but we do see where sometimes it does work out.
Mm-hmm.
There's clearly some issue that's been going on there. There's been rumors that he was probably a little bit vocal, which we could assume when Micah Parsons got traded, and maybe they didn't like that. I don't know what was going on there. As you mentioned, he is somebody that has, he's a boomer bust cornerback where he's getting a lot of interceptions, but he's getting beat a lot. If you're not getting interceptions, there's that other half of it. So like it can't, it got to be both. So I don't know, what the future holds for him. I think it's definitely on top of like maybe slippage in play. It's definitely telling how bad the situation was that they didn't even wait a week, considering the season's over, that they cut this man. It was just like,
crazy.
and maybe they're showing it as a sign of respect. Like, here, we're gonna go ahead and cut you, and you can go
Sign
join
with
a
a
playoff
contender.
team.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to say it's that, but it just seems, and then the situation, like what has been put out about why he's gotten released. Some people are trying to spin it as he's, the team did him wrong by not letting him stay home, which, you fly there together, you go home together. That's kind of how it's always, well, at least for most places, that's how it's been. I'm sure when you're a team that's missing the playoffs, that's kind of more important even then, and you're trying to establish a culture as opposed to maybe a team that is in the playoffs and has gotten a 1 seed or won a division, and maybe at that point in time you're like, okay, go ahead. I don't know, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see for sure.
He's back with his boy, I guess, like he wanted to be. He wanted to be with Michael Parsons, which, I mean, hey, if I was a corner, I would also be a little upset that Michael Parsons got let go from my team. But, he's got a the Diggs brothers are not having a good 48 hours. We'll say that. And we'll see if, Stephon Diggs ends up playing in the playoffs. So honestly,
what's your percentage of them like signing him long term, as in like for next year? Because I'm pretty sure if they pick him up, it's only for this year.
No, if he they picked him up off waivers, so they picked up his contract.
Oh, okay.
It was waivers that he did it.
Okay, I didn't know it was waivers.
That's what I believe.
I didn't realize it was waivers. Okay.
They didn't outright. I didn't see him outright say that, but
I think it was
it might
waivers.
be.
I mean, we could go ahead and fact check it right now.
They picked up that nasty contract. I mean, then that makes sense then, because that was my other question. Was like, okay, you picked them up, but I mean, they doing all this grandstanding. Michael Parsons just tweeted out 7-11. It's just like, is he here for next year or is it just this
year? I don't. Hold on. Somebody said.
Somebody said sign. Somebody said claim.
Yeah. Packers claim Trayvon Diggs on waivers. Adam Schefter. So that means let's see what he's at right now.
Is in that case, it's definitely an interesting move for the Packers.
But I mean, he might be on the back half of his contract, so I don't know what his contract look like right now. But
he signed it in 2023, 2024. It does seem recent.
But I mean, that picking him up off waivers is, I mean, that yeah, you got him. You got him. So I mean, I'm trying to see what the structure is of the contract, but
I don't know how true it is, but they say he has no guaranteed money on his deal beyond this season.
And he's signed till 2028.
Yeah, but he signed to 2028, but the next 3 years he has no guaranteed money.
He signed a 5-year, 97, APY 19. The first 2 years are guaranteed. because he had 33 mil guaranteed at signing. So the first 2 years were guaranteed. So yeah.
And you pick him up if you play him next year. If he doesn't play,
If he
well,
buns, or
he's
hurt, yeah.
So
There's no harm, no foul, man.
So we got to see what the numbers are once they sign him to, because the Packers were already in pretty good. From what I remember, they were already in pretty good shape in terms of what their money looked like for the next years, which is why they signed Mike Parsons. So, we'll see. But with that being said, we can go ahead and get into the games from last week. Obviously, we ended the week with a big upset, as I spoke about in the intro. But we had one of the best games of the year on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, a defensive battle, if you want to call it that, with the Eagles going against Buffalo, and some selling going on with Tampa Bay and the Panthers. So, what was you guys' biggest takeaways from the past week?
I mean, we can go right there, man. My biggest takeaway is, God damn, NFC South don't want to win the division. I mean, for the Bucks this year in general, is like your path was kind of clear. Once the Falcons started to tail off, in my opinion, I felt like that was their bigger competition. Shy, I know you spoke about the Panthers being, one of the bigger competitions in the South, but I felt like it was just theirs for the taking. They just refused. They just like completely refused to take the division the entire year. I understand it was points of time of the year you had injuries, but I mean, right now you still had control of your own destiny. You just continue to lose games. Like, we talk about Black Monday. If they don't make it, that's number one right there in my opinion. Because it just doesn't make any sense for you to lose a game like that. And I mean, and for the Panthers, I mean, they're still a young up and coming team, so I kind of give them a little pass, even though again it's in their hands to win a division. They gotta seize the moment. But for the Buccaneers, I mean, it's kind of disappointing. It's disappointing to see that. So that was my biggest takeaway is just the ability to not want to win the games, not want to win the division. So that's what I took away from this week.
Nah, yeah, it was funny because I had these games on side by side. They were both down like 20-10 at one point. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Like, and it was just stupid stuff happening within the game. I could see if you go out and just get beat, cool. But you look at like what Tampa Bay was doing and how their offense has been. I mean, Bucky Irving had 9 attempts for 19 yards in this game. I mean, Miami's defense has gotten better throughout the season, but I mean, they ain't that good. You know what I mean? And of course, you got interception on top of it. Are a better team than the Panthers, so that wasn't totally shocking. But at the same time, it was a tie game at halftime. You know what I mean? The Panthers had a chance to win that game. You had a chance. Bryce Young, 24 passes for 54 yards. That pass can I understand. See how those defenses not easy. But at the same time, a lot of that looked like he didn't even want to try to throw the ball past 5 yards down the field. He took the quick hitches. He took the little swing routes. They threw a couple of screens in there. And that offense that passing game just looked so nasty. And it got to the point when at third quarter where they got down to like 2 scores and they had to keep trying. And it just was not working. Charbonnet got off on them on the Panthers defense. It's shaping up to be a very interesting battle on Saturday, and we're going to get to it in our picks and stuff. But like at this point, it's a disappointing effort from this whole. Well, I want to say the whole division because the Saints have been looking like a way better team these past few weeks, but definitely disappointing from the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Falcons. But definitely wanted to talk a little bit about like. Go back to what the Lions did last week and how they looked in that game. And another quarterback that threw for 50 yards, but actually won. They ended up putting up 23 points. A lot of that was Jared Goff, though. A lot of people, and I think Shad had this is your MVP, right? this season. You know, a lot of people didn't give Goff credit throughout the year, even though he was putting up these like good numbers. And this kind of game is kind of the reason why. It's like this kind of game sticks out in a lot of people's heads when you come out and get 5 turnovers and you just look like you have no idea what's going on in the field. Chris, you mentioned like talking about Dan Campbell, you know, and him calling plays. They could not get a rhythm, and I understand it's a good defense, the Vikings defense and all that, but that was a very pathetic showing by the Detroit Lions. Coming off a season where you were severely disappointing in the playoffs, losing in your first game. And you come out and have this kind of season, it's tough. I get it. You lost Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, but what they put out against the Vikings, against this quarterback and Max Brosmer, who we all said that we're not gonna put our money on him winning this game. To come out and do that kind of performance is very, very disappointing. So that was my main takeaway. The Lions got a lot of soul searching to do this offseason, a lot to fix for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in terms of the offseason. I would put a lot of money on them being a positive regression team though next year. I'd put a lot of coin on that, but we shall see. With that being said, the Carolina game, in you know, to your point about Bryce Young, it's also like back to what I said a few weeks ago. You know, where is the identity of the team still? And it's because at this point, you know, we still have no, you know, we assume that we have an answer on Bryce Young and what he's going to be. But, you know, if that's the case, why haven't you gone to Andy Dalton, especially in a position where you do have an opportunity to make it to the playoffs? So it makes me feel like maybe we don't have the real answer, and the answer lies in the fact that they can't put together a good offensive scheme. But I don't know because we can't. They have no consistency. Whether it's been in the run game, we saw it for a couple games. We saw a couple games Bryce Young will be good, and then a couple games, then he's back to being what the hell is this? And then the run game is back to being non-existent. It's just so inconsistent, especially when they're getting players back. And you know, I think Tetero has been good all season, but you know, Xavier Legette, I don't know if you know if there was really any expectation on him this season, but what has he progressed to? If especially when you're trading, you know, Adam Thielen, I understand that you got a great pick for it, and maybe that's the case. That's why you did it. But you know, I feel like you can use all the receivers that you can get if Legette's not going to be what basically what he's been all season. And then Jalen Coker obviously was hurt, so now you got a tight end hurt as well. It's just the pieces there, whether it's quarterback, weapons, all of it, the head coach. It's, you know, they've got a lot of questions. I don't really know how do you, because you improved again for another season, but how do you go from here? It just makes it a little weird. And then the Bucks, I don't know. I mean, it's. I think it's like Buck. I mean, you know, Baker's clearly hurt, but you know he was already getting away with some lucky things, you know, earlier in the season. But you know, yeah, I don't know. I thought Todd Bowles had figured it out, but I might be wrong. But with that being said, we also had, you know, the Sunday night battle between Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy. I think, you know, it's sad that it takes a game against Chicago and Chicago's defense. But I think, you know, people, maybe y'all disagree, but I think we could stop having this conversation about whether Brock Purdy is a good quarterback or not.
Man,
you know,
people
at this
gonna
point,
always say that because of where he was drafted. I
at
don't
this
think
point,
that way, but that's just
and people, it seems like, but it does seem like the national media has been like, oh, well, Purdy is actually. Well, I mean, I think it's sad that it took that game against that defense, but you know, for both of them, Caleb Williams played really well. Brock Purdy was excellent, especially after a tough start. And it seems like he's just getting better and better, especially where people thought that, especially this year, given the fact that Ayuk didn't play, and that's a whole weird situation there. But people talked about how, he had all these Avengers or whatever the case may be, and now they're all gone, and he's probably played his best season. So
That's why the
You
narrative
know,
has changed, and a lot of people talk too about Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan's doing a masterful job, but they kind of they've been mentioning how they don't have the crutch now of a Debo, of a Brandon that you have to hammer. I mean, they are giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey at a very, very high rate. That's a totally different story. But you can definitely see them getting creative with all their receivers. I mean, we saw it. You know, they're throwing jump balls to the Marcus Robinson down the field. You know, they're getting all these. Ricky Pearsall had a good game in this one. Of course, George Kittle has been hurt. You know, so you have to get more people
Getting
involved.
Kendrick Bourne inactive and
You know what I
stuff.
mean? So I think this how the last half of this season has went for Brock Purdy is huge for that narrative to kind of shut off and put away. And it also gives you confidence in the contract that you gave him. You know, paying him $50 million that you quote unquote could have gave to like players around him when you find him having success with players around him that aren't these high level.
I just feel like, at this point, you just gotta give the nod and the benefit of the doubt to Kyle Shanahan. I mean, you gotta just believe in him at this point as far as him picking quarterbacks. Because I mean, he's had plethora of quarterbacks that he has used, and for him to get rid of Trey Lance and say no, this is our guy, and to go back and forth even when having Sam Darnold on the squad, and as we see, Sam Darnold went to Vikings and done well, and went to Seahawks and done pretty well, but for him to keep Brock Purdy, I mean, it's clearly a reason. But like I said earlier, people just get stuck on the fact that where people are drafted. And, yeah, most of the time people are drafted lower for a reason. But if you get them in a good system, get them with a good coach, developing well, players can make plays. And, I mean, Brock Purdy has been showing the whole league, like, hey, I can make plays. I don't have to have – I mean, he's done had, George Kittle in and out of line, like you said, Kaz, no IU – Debo, he's in Washington, and he ain't doing that well over there. So it's like, Purdy's showing something. So I mean, maybe people realize like players can develop and can become better than what their draft position shows. So
yeah, it was really good game. And then on the Bears side of things, obviously this is probably Caleb's best game on prime time against a defense that Philip Rivers did cook the same defense a couple weeks ago, but I think we're outside of the Caleb aspect of it. Luther Burden is a guy, and I think that he might be the best receiver on their team already. And if Caleb does pan out, if Rome Odunze can stay healthy, I think DJ Moore is 100% gone this offseason. As long as it makes sense financially. But I think that they've got weapons in terms of they've got a three. They've got a trio already in Colston Loveland and Luther Burden and Roma Dunze. So I think the Bears are set up. We'll see, in terms of how they do on defense and their drafting there. And then filling out the rest of the roster. Obviously, they got some older guys on the offensive line that they brought over. But I think they're definitely built really well to start this kind of rebuild for them. I don't know if they're going to be a real contender like some people may think, but getting turnovers, you never know. You never know.
That's what I do like about this whole like playoff, and we'll get to it too. But like anything can really happen. Like I don't foresee the Bears making a run, but if they do, I can't be completely shocked. Just from the overall state, of what we have in there from all these teams, I would not be shocked. I'll be kind of shocked that the Broncos actually do make it to the Super Bowl and win it, but that's just me. But
at this point, it's like that makes it interesting, but it also, like, we always kind of talk about it every year when we get to championships for the different sports. But once again, like, getting an opportunity now, we're really, really seeing somebody kind of set stage for kind of their legacy. In terms of a lot of people at different positions, aside from maybe like Matthew Stafford, or maybe Aaron Rodgers if he's the one that makes it. But just about everybody else, that's going to be Jalen Hurts has I don't know who that's going to be a very interesting conversation, but he can make the conversation very interesting. Brock Purdy, same thing. Jordan Love, continuing that kind of Packers lineage, and Drake May doing it in his second year, Caleb Williams doing it in his second year. Obviously, I'm just talking about quarterbacks, but
Trevor Lawrence,
as we start to get into all these different quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence will make an interesting case as well, considering he the same way he made the playoffs the first time, bad for mid for a lot of the season, and then you get hot for a few games. Now, if you get hot enough to go to the Super Bowl, how does that look for the onset of the rest of your career? So it's it's going to be very interesting. But on the opposite spectrum of that, obviously we're going to see a lot of changes coming up here in the next week. Now that we're at the end of the season, we've had some changes already with some in-season coaching firings, some GMs being let go. Giants, it felt like they let go everybody, and it's like 3 people over there. But who do you guys think could possibly be some surprise firings, or guys that next week when we start to hear about people being let go are people that would be moved?
I mean, I'm gonna just hang my hat on what I said earlier with Todd Bowles. I feel like they do not make the playoffs. That is grounds for firing for him, and I think they might have to cut that up and start it over.
It's interesting
I'll
because
leave
of
this up
him.
to you, Shot, but I do think somebody in the AFC North gonna get out of there too. I know Shot want to talk about that one, but go ahead. What you want to say, Ken?
I would say it's interesting because you saw the reports come out I think it was today actually. Earlier this morning, come out about Todd Bowles and how he just signed an extension last year and how they don't want to pay all this money to him. And it's like, how much is that really? I know it does matter in certain organizations. So how much does that matter in this case?
And they actually released a report Sunday that he was going to likely be kept. I don't know where that's coming from, but
yeah. So I mean, as you said, Chris, that would be one of the surprises.
Yeah.
It should happen, I feel, because if you run this back next season, if you're the Bucks, why would you expect anything different? Why? But yeah, probably somebody in the AFC North. Jonathan Gannon though has got a lot of talk over these past few weeks since the decision since Kyler got hurt, quote unquote hurt, and they decided to not even bring him back, put him on IR, roll with Jacoby Brissett, and then instantly lose 7-8 games in a row. It's a tough look for that Cardinals team, and when you just look at what this was supposed to be, and I understand the injuries, and we talked about it a few weeks ago with all the injuries that they've had on both sides of the ball. I just don't know how you sell to that fan base that bringing Jonathan Gannon back is the best move, especially when you don't see much improvement on defense. It's been improvement, but it's because they were very bad before, like last year. But like you don't see much improvement, especially from the young guys. You don't see a lot of development going on. It's just a lot of uncertainty with how that team is going to move. And I would not be. It would be surprised because I thought he would get one more year, but Jonathan Gannon might get that boot next Monday. Sadly, but I mean at the same time, you're 3-13, and you had chances to win games. You did, even with all these injuries, and you couldn't. So that one would not be surprised at all.
I honestly do think that because they just did release a report on him too. But I do think that he ends up keeping his job because he can go and be like, hey, y'all thought Kyler sucked anyway.
You can play that card for sure.
I gotta bring in my own guy. The defense was good at the beginning of the season before all the injuries, but to your point, they did get worse significantly as the team as a whole got significantly worse as the season went on. And then you have the tough injury to Walter Nolan. And Will Johnson, has been in and out of the lineup. Marvin Harrison has been hurt this season. We haven't seen much progress from him while he has been healthy. Michael Wilson we did see, but, the quarterback position obviously is the most important, and it depends on what they're going to want to do with in terms of what they're going to want to do with Kyler Murray. And I think that I don't know. I don't need to talk anymore about the Ravens and what they need to do. We already know what they need to do. I do think that I think the Colts just lost however many games in a row after starting however many games that how they did and being in the position. So I think some heads have to roll there. I don't know if you do Shane Steichen, but at the same time, like you have to. I think Chris Ballard has to go, not being able to win a division at any point in his career, and it's like from there you kind of have to let a GM pick who they want to pick from there if they want to keep Shane or not. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but we already know. I think I mean, it's not going to happen next Monday, but Sean McDermott. I think this past week is just another prime example. Not to say that it was all on him, but once again, we see a situation where the opposing team didn't complete a pass the entire second half, and you're at home and you lose. The team scored 13 points and you lost. Like at the end of the day, like you got to be able to take, and that's credit to the Eagles. Obviously, I said it yesterday when we were talking on the mic, but I said that could give a lot of positives to the Eagles that at this point they've had multiple games like that and they're still winning. That we probably should give them more credit in terms of winning a championship, but on the flip side of that, Buffalo, like that is completely unacceptable.
You can't.
That's completely unacceptable with a MVP quarterback. Whatever they have going on in the receiver room at this point, whether they just have their first ever 100-yard receiver or since like week 1 or something like that, with Brandon Cooks, a guy that just joined, maybe both Brandon Bean, probably Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott need to go there, but Aaron Glenn, man.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough.
The feel-good story where everybody thought you were going to be the perfect fit. I think it's time. There was a video of Jermaine Johnson kind of scoffing at Aaron Glenn coming at the team saying they didn't have enough energy, which is not necessarily a good sign. We don't know what he was scoffing at, but just given the question, how it was set up, it looks like a little bit of an indictment on the head coach. Mm-hmm. The head coach has been very prickly with the media for absolutely no reason since the beginning of the season. And like I said, when you're not winning, when you're not winning and you are not making any friends, I think it doesn't bode well for your future and kind of people, in a sense, standing up for you, because I'm sure there are a lot of fans, New York Jets fans, that are probably pretty upset with how things have gone this season. And, the media could be the people that are like, hey, this is with some positives that, that could come from it. But I don't even know how you spin that. And I don't necessarily know who has, we want to talk about progress. Like the defense you're a defensive coach, haven't got an interception all year. I don't know.
That's nasty. That's so nasty.
I'm trying to think of anybody on the team just specifically that we could say, like, start to finish, what we expected to not even just stood out, but just got better. Maybe Mason Taylor.
Brees got better throughout the season. I will say that. He's been coming on just a little bit.
Brees, yeah, maybe. But, what exactly is better? Is he in better standing than what we thought he was? Or is he just what we thought he was?
That's fair.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say that as a knock. But, I imagine everybody already thought Brees Hall was a good running back. Like, did he become a great running back? And obviously situation didn't necessarily make it for him to be a great running back.
Very tough situation.
Your starting receiver has been hurt all season. Really, you basically picked up 2 new receivers because the rest of the receiving group was not it. Who on defense? You traded your 2 big stars.
You saw regression.
Will McDonald, I guess.
Both the inside linebacker spots.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's
like Sherwood has been bad.
I don't know how. And I feel like they did a good job of replenishing assets, and I think getting A.D. Mitchell was a good pickup. I think that getting Mechie could possibly be a good pickup as well. We'll see if they are able to develop, but how do you trust this coach to develop it at this point in this coaching staff? So, Aaron Glenn, it might, unfortunately be a one and done for you. And I don't really know where because it's not like the Lions defense was necessarily great under Aaron Glenn either. So
yeah, it's another one and done. Pete Carroll. That's picked up a lot of steam. It's tough. I mean, it's not tough. It is what it is. But he was brought in to. Of course, we know that they were trying to get Ben Johnson and all of that, and Tom Brady had a lot of push for it. But you brought in a guy like Pete Carroll to provide some kind of stability. At least for a season or two. And to come out and only win two games this season is very bad. It's very, very bad. It's not what you brought Pete Carroll in here for. If you're going to go out and if you knew last year you're going to go out and win 2 games, you bring in anybody else, a up and coming head coach, whatever it is. I know that's not what you brought Pete Carroll in for, and he knows it too. You can tell in his press conferences, he knows the kind of writings on the wall there. But look, the Raiders might very well end up with the number 1 overall pick. This would be a good situation to move on from a 74? However old he is, head coach, and just start completely over. And you have that kind of pathway now. So I think that's one. I think that's a for sure thing. A lot of people saying, "Oh, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?" It makes too much sense for that not to happen at this point with Pete Carroll. Who knows what he does after that? But I mean, he'll probably go back to the consultant role or advisory role, shit that he had, wherever. But yeah, this wasn't a good year. Wasn't a good year for the Las Vegas Raiders, sadly.
Very tough, and it's always tough when you have the one and dones. And I think that we could possibly, like as you mentioned, see multiple one and dones. But that gives us a good segue into the hot seat because there's a lot of guys that could be on the hot seat, especially potentially with this week in some of these games. And we'll see if you guys have anybody that could benefit or be hurt from these games this weekend. But who did you guys have last week, and who you have this week, and why?
Last week I had Detroit Lions. I knew they was gonna make the playoffs. Bad showing by them this week. That hot seat was more towards them and fixing going into the offseason and trying to find who they are and how they're going to build or whatnot. So it's kind of the same thing for me this week. This week I got Omar Khan on the hot seat along with Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the GM and the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This year, unlike other years, was very unique for them as the fact that the Ravens start off 1-5, 1-6 this year, and the Bengals starting quarterback was injured most of the year. You had the prime opportunity to put a gap and just put a stranglehold on the division in general, and it just didn't happen. And not only that, I just feel like the roster construction of this team, as we saw throughout the year, it sounded good at the beginning, especially their defense. Bringing players that everybody knows all by name, but it didn't work out this year. And offensively, maybe y'all could give me a little direction on this. But in my opinion, before it happened, I thought it was going to be the duo of DK Metcalf and George Pickens. That's what I assumed when they first got DK Metcalf. I was like, okay, this is going to be a nasty ass duo. Then next they traded him. George Pickens went to another team and has been going crazy. I'm looking at their stats. Their top 4 receiving yards is 1 receiver. It's 2 tight ends and a running back. Like, that is terrible. That is terrible roster construction for that offense. And I'm not gonna put this all obviously on Aaron Rodgers because he's Aaron Rodgers. We know what he can do. Get him, but like you went into here with 2 good receivers and got rid of one, and expect him to just dominate the division with just 1 receiver who had his ups and downs. He could be dominant at times, but as we've seen other times, it just seemed like DK Metcalf just out there. And he's been like that since he's been with Seattle. And so now it's just another year of, if they win this, it's like, oh, Tomlin went to the playoffs once again. It's like, but did what? You go to the playoffs again just to get bounced again in the first round. Like, that can't keep happening. And then that's why he's on the hot seat. And then as far as GM, again, roster construction. Like, this is bad. His roster was bad this year. And I admit, I thought their defense was going to be lit. I thought their defense was going to be good. But, I mean, we all went off the names. But that offense it wasn't good to begin with. And it hasn't been good all year. So I got them on the hot seat. I don't know if they're gonna win this weekend. I'm just put it that way. I don't know if they're gonna win this weekend. I kind of think they should. I hope they don't, because that's maybe that put a foot up their ass and get in gear and fix that roster. Yeah, they on the hot seat for me, man. That was terrible. By the way, terrible loss by them this week. Terrible loss. I mean, you can't go in that game knowing what's on the line and just put up a fucking dud, man. That was bad. That was just bad. I don't even know to say if they were prepared or not. But Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, y'all on the hot seat for me this week.
Arthur Smith. That stretch of plays, that stretch of plays at the goal line, or they weren't at the goal line, but right there at it, to end that game was just it was pathetic. That was just pathetic. You know, you gotta be a little bit more creative against his defense now. Come on, let's be real. Damn shame. No, I like it though. Big game Sunday night. I guess that's why they scheduled it there, Shad. I don't know. Maybe both coaches coaching for their jobs. You know, maybe who loses.
We know the real reason why they scheduled it there. It's Aaron Rodgers, and I think I think everybody's knee jerk reaction was put the big game, but I think they did the right thing. If it's Aaron Rodgers potentially in last game, I mean that trumps everything in my opinion, especially in the Ravens Steelers last game, Ravens Steelers rivalry to get into the playoffs. I think it kind of trumps like the Seahawks 49ers, respectfully. Even though I thought that at first too, but hey, that's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. So last week I had the Los Angeles Rams on the hot seat, and we saw them come out on Monday night. We saw them come out on Monday night, get punched in the mouth early in that game, go down 21-0. Of course, they did right the ship a bit. It definitely helped with the big special teams kind of play by Jerry versus the second half. And they had multiple chances to kind of go down and win that game, or really on offense and defense, and they just could not do it. And to have that kind of showing, and I get that it wasn't much to play for. Like if they won that game, they would still be in the same spot they're in now, with the possibility of 5 or 6 seed. But it was that's still not what you want to see. I understand that you don't have Devontae Adams, but Stafford, that was a really bad game. And I thought that Panthers game was really bad. That was bad. And even you saw it at the end of that game where he missed Smith going down. He had like a little corner route that could put him easily in field goal position.
He might have scored.
Oh, he might have scored if he would have caught that and kept his feet in, because nobody was around him really. If he would have caught it, kept his feet in, and went up the sideline, that would have been a touchdown. You would have won that game. But he just sailed that shit basically towards the sideline. Like stuff like that is not what you want to see at this point in the season. And it's part of the reason why Sean McVay said they're going to play all his starters next week, this upcoming week against the Cardinals, of all teams. We'll see what happens with that. But this week, I was gonna put this Panthers Bucks game, one of these teams on the hot seat, but at this point it is what it is. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers, and they're going against the Broncos team on the road. And I think they have a chance right here to. I mean, obviously, the Broncos are cemented in their spot. They won the division. I get that, but you still have a chance to kind of submit who you are.
They're not playing their starters.
The Chargers? I didn't know that. Yeah. Who else not playing the starters? I heard the Eagles not playing their damn starters. Let's talk about that. I'm putting that on the hot seat.
Hey man, put that shit on the hot seat.
I'm putting that on the hot seat. There. Play the starters, man. I ain't trying to hear this shit, man. That shit. I didn't know that. I really didn't know about that. For real. I don't like that. And that's.
Well, you got to have. Well, I'll let you know before you put your chips on Trey Lance.
I get the, and Trey Lance can really, he could beat. Anyway, one day I'm gonna carry it on with the Chargers then, and I'm gonna carry this on into this playoff season, because if you don't want, then I get the injury risk. Your quarterback is, got his wrist broke or whatever. I get the injury risk. You're missing both tackles. But at the same time, I don't think you should go into this game with that kind of mindset, especially against this team. I understand it's not much to fight for. That's why I was saying too, like the Broncos have cemented their spot. I get it. But there's still a lot to work on in this team. We've seen it the last few weeks with this Chargers offense, especially. They got to get going. You don't want to come into the playoffs just cold. And I think they're on track to do just that. So, yeah, I mean, even though they're not playing their starters, I'm still putting Chargers on the hot seat going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, if they can get this win this week, that takes the Broncos away from getting the 1 seed, and you know, they need and Justin Herbert needs to get a win in the playoffs because people, you know, if he hasn't earned enough people's respect on seeing how he's played while getting killed over the past few weeks, getting a playoff win will definitely do that for him. But speaking of quarterbacks, last week I had Tyler Shuck on my hot seat, and he delivered. You know, he's now the favorite to be offensive rookie of the year. I don't know if that will actually happen, but you know, he had a really good game against the Tennessee Titans. I understand it's the Titans, but he has put together a stretch of good games, and as I mentioned last week, he does have another way to kind of ingratiate himself with the Saints fan base and getting a win against the Falcons this week, and also if they beat the Falcons, he kind of ingratiates himself a little bit more because he can keep the Panthers out of the playoffs possibly. So that's kind of a 2-for-1 in terms of pissing off your division opponents. I'm going to another quarterback and a name that we have not heard and probably has not been spoken on this show at all this season. But definitely have not heard this name at all. Will Levis. Will Levis, I'm putting you on the hot seat. This is an interesting situation because you were a second round pick a couple seasons ago. Obviously in the draft class with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. And you got your position taken because you know the Tennessee Titans ended up having the number 1 overall draft pick, and in comes Cam Ward. But you also had a guy that you followed in Malik Willis that was also taken in Tennessee, getting an opportunity with another team to show out and possibly will be getting an opportunity to have a starting position come this offseason. You've been out all year with an injury, but Brian Callahan kind of flaming out in Tennessee might have people looking at you a little bit different in a different light in terms of your development. So next year you'll get an opportunity probably to compete. There's a lot of teams that are going to be possibly needing a quarterback next season. You got Indy possibly needing a quarterback. You got the Atlanta definitely needing a quarterback. You got Cardinals definitely needing a quarterback. You got the Jets definitely needing a quarterback. So there's a lot of places that there's going to be availability. So I don't know, you know, I'm not going to say that you're going to get 100% get an opportunity to compete, but getting an opportunity to get into a different building in a different program with somebody that's seemingly more competent than Brian Callahan, at least schematically, maybe you get a chance to revitalize your career. So what are you going to do? What have you been doing over this past year? Kind of watching another guy take your spot. Are you going to be able to redeem yourself and go to another team next year in this offseason and become a possible starter? So far, like 21 touchdowns, I think like 17 interceptions. We've seen all the goofy interceptions, the goofy fumbles. Can you change that narrative around you? We'll see. So Will Levis, I got you on my hot seat. Not something that you can kind of redeem right now, but your name will definitely be a hot topic here in the next couple months. So, what are you gonna do?
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that one, but I do like it. I got one more, a bonus one, since mine kind of didn't count. Myles Garrett, get the record, bro. I don't want to hear no excuses about they just focusing all their attention on me. Man, I don't want get the record. get the record.
Yeah,
all you need is one. All you need is one.
And it's against the perfect team to get it against.
Yes, Joe Burrow has gotten sacked 3 times, pretty much per game since he's been back. Get the record, bro.
Shatter the record. With that being said, we've got a lot of games that are not going to mean much at all, and a lot of games that will mean some. So starting off on Saturday, as you mentioned, we've got the Carolina. Oh, first of all, let's get into what we looked like last week, and then we can get into the games on Saturday.
Yeah, rough week overall for us. First 3 games. Out of all of that, I picked Houston to beat Houston to win, so they won. But Shy, you don't want to pick Baltimore, and we saw how that game went. But you also picked Carolina. Chris and I picked Seattle. Seattle got that dub. Chris, you were alone on your Eagles. Y'all pulled it out. And then both of y'all picked San Francisco. So I had 2 for the week. Chris, you were at 3. Shy, you were at 2. All of us picked Detroit, and we're very wrong on that, like we talked about earlier. So on the season right now, I'm at 50. Chris, you're at 53. Shy, you're also at 50.
All right, getting into the first one, we got Carolina going to Tampa Bay, the NFC South Bowl. Win and get in. Bowl. Who you guys got and why?
Not necessarily win and get in.
Yeah, can y'all explain that?
Win and get in, man.
Not necessarily win and get in.
Somebody. Anyway, man, I got Carolina this one. I just at this entire year I've been trusting Todd Bowles and Tampa Bay. They've been failing me, man. I think it's gonna be another failed job by them. So I'm gonna roll with Carolina this one. Not confident though, but I just don't think Tampa Bay got it. I think they just out of steam at this point. So I'm gonna roll with Carolina.
Not like you said, not confident. This could go either way. I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay though. Mainly because they are the home team. But it wouldn't shock me at all if Carolina goes and finds a way to win this game and get into the playoffs. If Carolina wins, they're in. So if Tampa Bay wins,
that's why he said it.
Yeah. If Tampa Bay wins, though, it get a little interesting. But I got Tampa Bay winning.
What they're referring to, the Falcons. If the Falcons beat the New Orleans Saints, then
Panthers in no matter what.
Panthers in no matter what. But we're just treating this as winning in because if you looking at losing and trying to get in, that's some weak ass shit. But
that's some NFC South shit.
Anyway, yeah, man, this is tough. It's very tough because these two teams, in a sense, Carolina should probably be, they could be happy about their season. If you would have said at the beginning of the season, most people, probably outside of myself, would have been like, oh, they go 8-9 or whatever the case may be, getting an opportunity to fight for the playoffs in the last game of the season. That's a good season for them. But they kind of have to be disappointed with if they don't make the playoffs, just because right now, like I said, we're probably about 75% of the way there on Bryce Young, but you still haven't gotten 100% answer because he keeps having random flashes, especially down the stretch in some decent games. I'm sticking with my prediction from the preseason, and I'm going with Tampa Bay to win this one. I just think that, like I said, I don't think Carolina has an identity, and though Tampa, I don't know if they really have an identity either. I think they're a little bit closer than the Panthers right now. And I think that we do get a really good game between the two teams, but Baker ultimately comes up finally clutch, like he did at the beginning of the season, in this game. So,
which is crazy, like you said, because the Panthers done beat Green Bay and the Rams, and then they just do dumb shit like they
and the Bucs. Good. So, getting into the night game on Saturday, it's going to be a good one. Hopefully, we got Seattle going to San Fran. Fighting for the 1 seed. Who you guys got and why?
Yeah, I'm expecting some fireworks in this game. I think both offenses will, make some plays. But ultimately, I believe Seattle will get the W. They apparently do the best on the road versus when they're at home. But I just think their defense is just obviously much better than San Francisco defense. So I expect them to get a stop, one more or 2 more stops than the San Francisco defense will be able to get. So I'm gonna roll with Seattle with this one, and they will lock up the number 1 seed.
Yeah, that San Francisco defense definitely worries me in this one. I'm also going to go with Seattle, mainly because of that. I think it's going to be very tough to stop, that offense if they get rolling. I do think San Francisco definitely has a great shot to win this game, get the 1 seed or whatever. But I'm gonna roll with Seattle. I'm gonna trust Sam Darnold make some plays in this one too.
So I am also going with Seattle in this one. Robert Saleh was going to actually be my original hot seat watch before I decided to switch to Will Levis, and in part because of the defense and how it's performed, especially over the last few weeks, and also because I think that San Fran can win the Super Bowl. But if they don't, it's going to be because of that
The
defense.
defense. Mm-hmm.
And he also has a potential to be he right now you can kind of slate him as possibly the hottest head coaching candidate next in this cycle. So, there's a lot of things that could change, but I just don't think I think Sam Darnold rights his wrongs from last season and gets the 1 seed this time. And I just don't think that the San Fran has a good enough defense to affect it. So I'm rocking with Seattle in this one. But as I mentioned, Seattle is very shaky. Uh, we keep they're winning, so it's not talked about, but they're very shaky. So San Fran, they've got a really good shot. Getting into the next game, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, if the Saints win this one, I mean, if Heem wins this one, then the Panthers gets into the playoffs. So we've got the Saints going against Heem at home in Atlanta. Who you guys got? Why?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Man, you know what? I'm rolling with Heen with this one, man.
yeah.
Um, I just think at this point, even with the season they still have a lot to prove. You can't go out with a loss against New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans is riding a little high as far as how they've been playing, but you can't end the season with a loss. Think it's gonna be a heavy Bijan game per usual. That boy Captain Kirk gonna be out there making plays, but I just think personally that the Falcons they have a lot to show, and I think they need to come out and still play their best. There's no the season's over with, trash. Y'all playing for y'all livelihood at this point because he could be one of them. We don't know what Terry, the GM, we don't know what's gonna happen. But these people out here need to play their game. So I think that they'll come out and play a good game and they'll get the W against New Orleans. Cat about to pick Heen too. I don't even know why he's smiling over there.
I'm not
Heen.
picking Atlanta. I'm not.
Oh, it man sick.
I'm not. I'm going New Orleans in this one. They ain't got a sign. It is what it is. And I'll tell you why. Chase Young. He's gonna make a big play in this game that kind of turns it. And I think it happens in the third quarter. You've seen it happen the past few weeks. He's been making huge plays. Like huge plays. Shot, don't make that. Come on, Shot. Like you've seen it. You've been watching. But this offensive line has been.
Jinx still win.
Yeah. You know how that goes. But no, I do think Tyler Shuck does find some success in this game. It all depends though. When we played him, a few weeks ago, Jeff Ulbrich did not blitz as much as he usually does, and that allowed Shuck to get in some, especially in the second half of that game, getting a lot of rhythm. If he picks that up, and if you're not pressuring him how you need to, and of course our best interior pass rusher and Brandon Dorless won't be playing this game. It'll be rougher. It'll be tougher than you think it is, no matter how that Rams game looked, and how the Falcons looked against them. So I'm gonna go New Orleans to kind of pull off this. If they win this game and the Panthers win, New Orleans will be the second seed. That is fucking wild to me. Not second seed overall, but second seed in the division, which is so crazy. Like how this season has turned out for this whole division. So I got New Orleans.
With Tyler Shuck in this one, I'm going with the Saints.
Ah.
The Saints sneakily have a top 10 defense in the league overall per EPA, which is not something that's been talked about. Probably, depending on how the playoffs go, Saints probably walk into next season the early favorite in the NFC South as well. So I'm rocking with the Saints in this one. And I think that they put on a good showing to end the season. But getting into the next game, we got Detroit going against Chicago. Obviously, both coming off the disappointing losses. Who you guys got and why?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I mean, either way, I mean, obviously Detroit's out of it. Chicago, I mean, they can't. They kind of. I ain't gonna say they're locked into where they are. They could either be 2 or 3. I'm gonna roll with. I'm gonna roll with Chicago with this one. Detroit defense is bad. And they're injured, so I can't be too down on them. But they are very much injured. I think Golf will have a bounce back game, but I don't think it's going to be no explosive game. And I think Chicago, continues to not right the ship, but continue to do good on offense, and their defense will make a turnover here and there, and ultimately win the game. So I got Chicago winning.
I think this game is the epitome of why Dan Campbell is the coach he has been. And I think Detroit comes out and shows, like, even though they don't have anything to fight for, it's still a divisional game. They're still going to put forth their best effort. I think they still will play for him. I think Detroit wins this one. It won't be easy, for sure. But like you said, I do think Golf does have a bounce back game. That game last week was just so nasty on so many different levels. They still had a chance to win it, for most of that game. I think Detroit finds a way in this one.
I'm rocking with Chicago in this one. I want to rock with Detroit, but I think Chicago remembers that they got 50 on their head at the beginning of the season, and they're going to, especially riding high how they are right now, I think they're going to come out and try to really embarrass the Detroit Lions and kick them while they're down. So I'm rocking with Chicago in this one in a dominate.
Okay.
Dominate. Nah, probably like 30 to 14 or something like that. But get into the next game. A fight for 1 seed again. We got Miami and Quinn Ewers going to New England to see Derek May. Who you guys got and why?
Yeah, I got New England winning this one. Quinn Ewers, he did some good things last week, but I just think New England got a good defense. They got a great defense actually, so I think they'll be able to obviously slow him down and continue to play well. So I got New England winning this one. They still won't get the 1 seed, but I got New England.
I'm also going to roll with New England in this one. We'll see what kind of effort Miami comes out with. We didn't mention Mike McDaniel, earlier about like surprises and stuff that might happen on Monday. But that one's they're still talking about, a lot of people are saying it's 50-50. A few weeks ago, especially when they were in the midst of their run, it was like, oh, Mike McDaniel is going to be back, and the decision to move off of Tua was kind of like to distance himself. Kind of one of those shoot this nigga, not me. So I think, it'll be interesting to see if they come out with any kind of sense of urgency in this game from Miami's side. But New England's still the better team, so I got to go.
And get into the final Sunday night game of the year and our final pick of the regular season. We got the Baltimore Ravens going against the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers' possible last game of the season or his career. Who you guys got and why?
Yeah, I'm rolling Baltimore, man. Steelers without DK Metcalf, they literally have no real weapons on the outside, man. There's no way y'all should be able. There's no way they should beat y'all. If they beat y'all, that's an indictment on all you motherfuckers. So I'm rolling with Baltimore. Even I guess Lamar's not playing. Even without Lamar,
he practiced today. So
either way, they should get this W, and I believe they will get the W. So I'm rolling with Baltimore.
It's been a lot of people say, oh, like they might have a better chance with Huntley instead of Lamar. It's been a lot of people saying that dumb shit. Not going with that. I'm going with Baltimore. Hopefully Lamar does play. Like you said, he is on track to play. This is a huge game for him overall. Like you said, Pittsburgh, I can't believe in their offense. I think Baltimore, and if Derrick Henry continues to have, please do not fumble the ball, Derrick Henry, because I'm telling you, that one fumble, it doesn't matter when it happens, that's gonna fuck up everything. I promise you. If he does not fumble the ball though, in Lamar, they'll be all right. I'm gonna go Baltimore though, to win this. Come on, you already know what's up.
Stop it, bro.
I'm going with Pittsburgh in this one, with Pittsburgh's defense putting together a vintage Pittsburgh game. I think that night that stadium is gonna be rocking because everybody's gonna know the stakes of Aaron Rodgers possibly being his last game. I think that somehow, some way, a bunch of dumb shit's gonna happen with the Ravens, with Derrick Henry fumble, Zay Flowers fumble, Lamar or Tyler Huntley pick, one or the other. It's gonna happen, and I think that Aaron Rodgers does just enough, and to get into the playoffs and play his final season in the playoffs. So I'm rocking with the Steelers in this one, unfortunately. And we shall see.
Man, and if any of that happened, Harbor out of there, bro. No cap.
We shall see. They say
No
they don't want to
cap.
pay Lamar, so let's send Lamar to Minnesota, man. Hey,
That's been the
send
talk.
Lamar to Minnesota. Send him to Minnesota, please. Please go take JJ. Go ahead if you want. Do what you want. But with that being said, that gives us a wrap for another episode of Speak Up Sports Podcast, the last episode of the final regular season week in the NFL, and the final episode of 2025. So we will catch y'all next year, I guess. We want to say that, but we'll catch y'all next time.